I'm so proud to bring him to Agape to share this message. Please give a warm Agape welcome to Dr. Larry De Rusha.
Thank you. Good morning. Boy, the music is spectacular. Isn't it? Yes. Isn't it? Yes. Oh, okay. Just checking. I mean, all that good vibration. I was from San Diego, and we had good vibration with the Beach Boys, huh? Anybody remember the Beach Boys? Oh, okay. Just checking. They're making a resurgence, I think. Coming back a little bit, huh? Yeah, it's great. Well, today the topic is, does anybody know? No? Oh, good, then I can choose anything, right? Okay. I want to talk about what you think, because this is religious science. You understand religious science? Religious science, what you think about is what you become, what Emerson said. So I want to just say that what you think about all day long is what you become, but that's not who you are. Now, there's a big distinction there. So I want to talk about that and get into that a little bit. But I also want to tell you a great joke that I heard. Anybody interested in jokes? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. This is a guy from rancher from Oklahoma who comes down to Texas. And he's down visiting the in-laws. And he gets a little perturbed with the in-laws, so he decides to leave and go drive. So he goes out, he gets in his rental car, and he takes off, and he's just driving, and he sees this white fence, and it just goes for miles, and he's intrigued. So he drives, he gets to this corner where the fence is, and he sees this guy sitting up on the corner of the fence, and so he stops, and he gets out, and he goes up, and he says, "Say, partner, is that your spread here?" And the Texan looks at him and says, "Yeah." He said, "How big is this place?" He said, "Do you have a spread?" "Oh, yeah, I have a spread." He says, "Where are you from?" "I'm from Oklahoma." "Well, how big is your spread?" "Oh, well, let me tell you. It takes 2 days to drive around it in my truck." Guy from Dallas said, "I used to have a truck like that." What we think isn't always very accurate. So this idea of who do you think you are? The idea of what you think isn't who you are is really kind of foreign to most of us in this country. It's foreign actually to most people. The idea that we're something other than our mind and our body is foreign to almost everybody. But we know that you're not your body. Yeah? You're not your body. How do we know? Because you die. When you die, the body stays, the rest of you goes. Now, I know this from a personal experience of having a near-death experience. So I know I'm not my body. What happened to me was I worked in the fusion energy business, and I ended up getting pancreatic cancer. And I had this illness start, and it came on very suddenly, and it got very intense very fast. So I did go to the doctor, and I had a friend of mine who was a doctor, and he worked with me, and it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. Well, in those days, you had about a 40% chance of living from the operation, and that was if you got the best person in the world to do it. And you had about a 2% chance, maybe, of surviving anyway. So I said, okay. I'd been in religious science since 1977, and I said, okay, if this stuff works, let's prove it. What better opportunity? So what's the big thing that you have to overcome no matter what it is that you're going to do? Fear. Isn't it fear? What's the greatest fear in your life? Dying, isn't it? Actually, all fears relate to dying. All fears relate to dying. So the fear of dying, the moment that you let go of the fear of dying and you realize that you continue on, the world changes. You begin to take the risks you wouldn't take before. And in that moment of letting go of that fear and taking that risk, a door opens that wasn't there before. That's one of the great mystical secrets. Because we are so attached to our bodies and we are so cultured and domesticated to believe that we are our bodies. And in Christianity, look at, we are our bodies according to the Christian teachings, are we not? Look at, Jesus rose and he took his body with him. And when the resurrection comes and when the ascension comes, you take your body with you. Well, that's silly. That's just silly. You don't take your body with you. Your body goes back into the ground where it came from. You don't need it anymore. As one of the great mystics said, you throw it off like an old overcoat. So when I had this cancer, I had been living on a couch about this size because I couldn't walk further than from here to that chair before I would collapse. On a scale of 1 to 10, the pain was about 12. And it would come and it would go and it would come and it would go. And I never knew what was going to happen, but I could always tell just as the pain would start that my eyes would get blurry and I could feel myself just falling in to this pain. But one night, I was on that couch and something overcame me, and I thought, this is peace. This is what they mean by absolute peace. I got up off the couch and I walked all the way into the kitchen, which is about from here to there. And I said to my wife, I think everything's okay. Look how far I walked, and I have this beautiful peace. She said, I don't know what you're saying. You're slurring all your words, and you are white as a ghost. And my mind went, what are you talking about? It sounds perfectly fine to me. You know how the mind does that little thing that the mind likes to do? Well, she said, let me help you back. So she helped me back, and on the way back, about 2/3 of the way there, I got this sensation that came over me, and I went, oh, this is what dying is. There's no pain, there was nothing going on, but my energy was leaving. And I could feel it leaving from my feet and going up through my body. And as it was coming up, I didn't have any use of my legs anymore or anything. So pretty soon, she was pushing me towards the couch. And by the time I hit the couch and my body collapsed, I was watching as it hit the pillow. I was in the corner of the room watching, like right up there. And I'm going, oh, this must be what they call an out-of-body experience. What's thinking? I'm out of my body. What is it that's thinking? What went with me? My mind went with me, right? So my mind is still active, and it's going, oh, look, the paramedics and the fire department, they're all here. They got me all hooked up to the machines. And the moment the paramedic said, he's gone, I left. And I was in this absolute white space. That's the best description. Now, this is difficult to explain in words because the language doesn't give us the tools to explain what takes place here. But not only was there this amazing sense of peace, but there was an amazing sense of total unconditional love. The kind of love we all want and search for all of our lives and never seem to get to. Because in our world, love tends to be conditioned. I'll love you if. You know, as children, are we not in that space where, you know, honey, I love you, but if you don't take out that garbage, I love you, however, if you do this, I won't anymore. Well, what you find in this unconditional love, it can't be directed, it can't be controlled, and it is absolutely and totally unconditioned. So here I am in this space, and I am greeted, in essence, by a presence. Now, it's interesting to note that my mother had a near-death experience when she was a child. And when she passed, she was greeted by Jesus. So when I was greeted by this presence, I went, oh, that's how this works. You're greeted by who you believe you're going to be greeted by. If it's Buddha, it's Jesus, it's whoever it is, the presence doesn't care what the form looks like or feels like to you. Whatever is comfortable in that moment is what takes place, but it's the same presence. So I had this communication, if you will, and the communication in essence was you can continue in the light, or you can go back and complete what you needed to do in the first place. And when you've done that, you'll continue back into the light. Well, think about absolute peace, unconditional love, and planet Earth. You know, with wars and anger and violence and I don't like you and hate, all the other stuff. You go, where would I rather be? However, I got to thinking, do I really want to go through another experience as a baby? Crying and all the things that go, and going through school again? Holy smokes. My decision was pretty well made. Now, I want you to know I didn't think through all of those things at that moment. There was just a sense of, okay, I'm going back. At that moment that I made that decision, I had this strange sensation of cold. And I went, I must be going back into my body. Because I feel something, tangibly feel something. And in the next second or two, I was back in my body and I was looking out of my eyes, completely disoriented. My wife screamed. All the paramedics and everybody they had called the coroner, and they were all out at the truck smoking a cigarette, talking about Larry died. And when she screamed, they all come rushing back in. I think 2 of them fainted. But I was gone for 7 minutes. And in their book, you can't leave for 7 minutes and still come back. And if you do come back, you're going to be in bad shape. It took a while. It took me a while to learn to speak and do all the things that I used to do, but not as long as I thought it was going to take. It came back quickly for me. Some things didn't, and I had to work at it. So the first thing I learned from that, I'm not my body. I'm not my body. That's not who I am. And my mind went with me. So obviously my mind was still a part of what was going on in this other experience. And I recognized that I'm also not my mind. So how do we know we're not our minds? How do we know this thing that's chattering all the time? Anybody had that experience? Chatterbox? You go, shut up. I just want some sleep. Yeah. So you're not your mind. The way you know you're not your mind is you go into meditation, and when you go into deep meditation, you go beyond the mind and you can see it chattering. And it's doing all of its thing. And thoughts are things, and you can watch them when you're in that state of meditation. So you go, oh, okay, I get it. I'm not my mind. So then the question is, who am I? Who am I? That's the place we all need to come to recognize what Ernest Holmes and all the great mystics have said, we're all one. We are all one there. We are not all one here. We're all interconnected and we're all interdependent, but we are not one until we get to that essence of who we are. The essence of who you are is greater than you could possibly imagine. It goes beyond the ability of the mind to comprehend. Anything that you would call a miracle of any sort at all in the world is just something normal. In the world of psychic phenomenon, in the world of the mind is an amazing tool. It can do outstanding things. But the mind is a tool. And it's like your car. If you don't control your car, it's dangerous, isn't it? It's kind of like what's happened to us is we've gotten into our car, we've started it up, we put it into drive, and then we stepped out. Oh yeah, I forgot something. Where's the car going? Down the street. And it's hitting the lampposts and banging into things, and that's what's going on with us in our minds. It's out there and we're chasing it. Going, wait, wait, wait. We have gotten so into our heads and so into our left brain that we've forgotten the truth of who we are. And we've forgotten the power that we have within us. The vibration of the music today was just amazing. That vibration, I could not only feel the vibration physically, but I could feel the vibration of the music in my being. And isn't it what Abraham and others talk about, vibration, the law of attraction? What are we vibrating at? What's the level we vibrate at? And if you're vibrating, how do you vibrate? Well, you know, your thoughts actually create vibration. What you think about, this thought atmosphere, sets up a vibration. That vibration brings to you the evidence of what you're experiencing. So if you're down and depressed and upset, what's going to happen around you? You're going to attract people that are upset, down, equivalent of what's going on in your own mind. That's the vibration and the level of attraction of vibration. But you aren't that. There are more dimensions to you than you can possibly imagine. Makio Keiko is a theoretical physicist. He's popular on television now. Grew up in San Francisco where I lived for a while, and his grandmother used to take him up to Golden Gate Park, and there was a Japanese pagoda there. And at the pagoda, there was a goldfish pond, concrete goldfish pond. You know, right? You're from Fremont? Yeah. So he said, I used to sit there and watch the goldfish. And he said, one day I went, do you know, that's their whole world right there. They don't know anything else. So he said, I reached in, I grabbed one of them, and I pulled him out. I wanted to give him an experience he'd never had before. And then I went, well, geez, I don't want to shock him or kill him or something. So I put him back in, and he swam right over to all the other fish. And he said to the other fish, you'll never guess what happened to me. I was abducted. But he realized that there's more dimensions than we realize. We're swimming around in our goldfish pond, and we don't recognize who we truly are. Today's string theory is popular in physics and quantum physics. And string theory, in order for the mathematics to work in string theory, we have to have 11 dimensions. 11 dimensions. You know, for us every day we experience 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions, you know, height, width. So what about the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and the 7th and 8th and 9th? These are all dimensions as well. They're all parts of who we are. Most people on the planet don't use one of the easiest things for them to get to, and that's intuition. Now, intuition is one of those things where we are educated out of it. We're told, you got the answer, but you got the right answer, but you didn't get how. So that doesn't work. Or we get this, wait a minute, intuition is what caused the witches to get burned. So you don't want to do that. And the churches frowned on intuition because they didn't want you to become somebody who communicated with God without them in between. Can't have that. Then you realize something more about yourself. So the truth of who you are is much greater than you think. And my mission is, if I see in you what you do not see in yourself, I'm the bridge to your becoming. Because of the death experience, I see so much of who you are. And all that negative stuff that we have going on in our life that we think is so profound is nothing in comparison to who you really are. Nothing in comparison to what you can achieve and what you can do with the truth of who you are, which is effortless. You don't have to work at it. You are it. But we have had so many people tell us who we are and what we are and where we're supposed to be, and we don't even know who we are in this world. We are a batch of beliefs from somebody else. Your mom, your dad, your uncle, your friends, your teachers, your ministers, your pastors, they all gave us these beliefs by the time we were 7 years old. And we have proved those beliefs over and over again. Why am I not Bill Gates? Yeah, how many times have we asked ourselves, why am I not rich? I have a good idea. Why you're not rich is you don't actually have a belief system around being rich. What you have is a belief system around being middle class, being poor, whatever that might be. That belief system sets up a vibration. When you go around and you try to create a new business and it never seems to work out, it's because your vibration level is running at that point. So what do we do about that? We have to reconnect to the truth of who we are. Why? Why? I'll tell you why. What's going on the planet right now? Wars, financial disaster, environmental disaster, all of the things that are happening now are the result of one thing: separation. It's separation from who we truly are. We are disconnected. We're disconnected from our spirit. We're disconnected from who we are, the truth of who we are. If we are connected inside, we're connected outside. And we realize the truth of who we all are. And when you're in that space, there's no violence, and there's no killing, and there's no deceit, and there's no taking from other people, because you are them. But we're disconnected. We can colonize and we can consumerize and we can do all those kinds of things as long as we're disconnected. I can cheat you if I'm disconnected, because you're just an object in the world out there. So, how then do we reconnect? Coming to this center helps reconnect. Doesn't it feel good when you're here? And it points you to the direction of who you truly are, and it says, go there. Go inside. That's where the beauty is. So the way to reconnect, we have to look at compassion and empathy. Compassion for others tells us we are interconnected. And we reconnect by going inside of ourselves to that space that we know is who we are. And you may need to go to 3 or 4 classes to get connected back up, because most of us have been educated out of who we truly are. Anything you can possibly imagine is possible. Why do we know this? Well, Ernest Holmes said there's universal mind. Everything already exists in universal mind. If everything already exists in universal mind and it's whole, complete, and perfect, then all I need is access to it, right? So what's blocking it? What's blocking? Your belief systems are blocking you. Your energy is blocking you. And that's what treatment is about, isn't it? It's about connecting back up. As Ernest Holmes once said, the greatest thing about treatment that you'll ever need to know is step 1, recognition. I recognize there's one power and presence in the universe. I recognize that. Now, if you recognize that, you need an experience of it, because recognizing it with this isn't enough. It needs to connect to this. We're finding now in the research astonishing information about the heart. The heart is connected to the brain. It has a direct channel. It feeds information to the brain. The brain takes that information, analyzes it, and feeds it back. Now, the heart can't analyze. It doesn't know. All it does is feel. However, it has brain cells all around it. The brain cells that are around it forward information into the brain, into the mind. So actually, when we're saying reconnect, we have to reconnect. If we don't, there's only part of us that's living, not the whole truth of who we are. Science is catching up to what we've known for a long time, huh? Like vibration. In the Upanishads, it talks about everything is vibration. They knew string theory way back then. They just didn't have the words for it like we do, right? So science is our new religion. And science is changing every day. One day, hey, coffee's bad for you. Don't drink any more coffee. That's not good for you. And the next day, oh, you know how good coffee is for you? Oh, wait a minute. Now, they just told me wine is really good for me, so I went and drank a lot of it. Now they're telling me it's not good for me. Well, who do you believe? Somewhere inside, we know. We know the truth of who we are, the power that we have. One of my mentors was Buckminster Fuller. How many of you know who Bucky Fuller was? A great inventor, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, according to Scientific American. And in his early days, when he was in his 20s, he was so energetic about life. And he started a company in Chicago to build homes. And he wanted to build homes that were affordable for everybody. And those homes didn't sell. And it was in that period of time when the Depression was taking place. His company was going bankrupt. He had a daughter, his wife was pregnant, and soon the company went bankrupt. He has to go to court. His wife is taken to the hospital to deliver, and their other daughter is taken to the hospital with spinal meningitis. He comes out of court and he's so depressed over everything that's happening to him, he decides to commit suicide. And he walks out of the hospital across Lakeshore Boulevard and into Lake Michigan. And he gets about up to his knees and he said, all of a sudden there was this flash of light. And he said, I heard this voice say, your life doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the universe. You will never know the impact that you have on this planet. But if you take away from it now, you're going to create a debt in the universe that you're going to have to pay. Now that's pretty profound, isn't it? Your life doesn't belong to you. Well, your mind and body doesn't belong to you. They're just tools for you to use. Just tools for you to use. What is who you are is what he said, the power within. He went on from that point to create 40 of the most powerful patents in the world. They're still used today by the power grids, by big business, and he gave those patents to the United States, gifted them to the United States. He was so connected, and I wrote letters to him when I was in high school, and he would write back, and he was quite verbose. To say that he would go 4 pages without a period was an understatement. And he was so in tune with his intuition. When I finally got to meet him in San Diego, he was up giving a speech. And after the talk, I got to meet him. And his grandson came to see him and said, we got to go. Grandma's in the hospital. So they left and they went back up to LA. And Bucky went to the room and his other daughter was sitting across from him and his wife. And he grabbed hold of his wife's hand and they sat for a while. And after about 3 hours, he jumped up and he said to his daughter, did you feel that? She said, yeah. She squeezed her hands. And he said, she heard me. And he sat down, he laid his head on her stomach, and he died. She died 2 hours later. That's how connected. That's what we all are. We're all connected. The truth is greater than you can ever imagine. If I see in you what you do not see in yourself, I'm the bridge to your becoming. And you can be that for everybody else as well. Learn to know who you are, the truth of who you are. You can do that. That's what Science of Mind has been so great for. It's helped me all of my life. It helped me get through things that I didn't know I was going to have to get through. At 7, I had polio. At 35, I had cancer. At 37, I had a heart attack. 2 years ago, I had a brain tumor. I challenge myself health-wise once in a while. But beyond that, the greatest learning experience you're going to have is the experience of connecting That's the power. That's the truth. You're the gift for this world. You have a gift to give in the world. You have a lesson to learn. And if you don't give your gift, you're creating a debt that you'll have to pay. So, what I would say to you is, here's your challenge. Don't think about this. Just start connecting up. And you'll be amazed at what happens for you. Thank you.